We have our studio audience. By the way, tickets are on Hannity.com. Tonight you guys are great. This is going to be a fun night. Tonight we're tracking multiple stories, and they're major. The crisis at the southern border, the disaster in East Palestine in Ohio, the insane, wild tax hikes that Joe Biden is proposing, and the single biggest budget in history. It will bankrupt the country. It's that bad. Senator Ted Cruz will join us. Also, J.D. Vance will update us on what's going on in Ohio. And we'll also bring you part one of my exclusive interview with a very courageous friend and colleague here at Fox News, Benjamin Hall. It's been 1 year since he nearly died in the country of Ukraine, reporting for all of us. He blew me away today. As Benjamin's story of survival, recovery, it is such an inspiration. But first, let's take you to Capitol Hill, the swamp, the sewer in D.C., for an important hearing on the weaponization of your federal government. Now, here is the House Judiciary Chairman, Jim Jordan. Take a look.
In the run-up to the 2020 presidential election, FBI Special Agent Elvis Chan, in his deposition in Missouri versus Biden, said that he repeatedly informed Twitter and other social media platforms of the likelihood of a hack and leak operation in the run-up to that presidential election. He did it even though there was no evidence. In fact, he said in his deposition that we hadn't seen anything, no intrusions, no hack. Government had no evidence of any intrusions, no evidence of a hack and leak, yet for a year they tell Twitter that a hack and leak is coming, it's coming in October, and it will involve Hunter Biden. No evidence, but the FBI knows what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and who it's going to involve. Now, that's amazing.
Now, that is, sadly, the FBI putting their thumb on the scale of a presidential election. They were indoctrinating and basically training people in big tech. They had weekly meetings with them. Oh, that they're going to be victims of a disinformation campaign that never happened. And by the way, they did something else in 2016. It was called the Russia hoax. And they did it again in the fall of 2020 with a censorship, disinformation campaign against what was the very real reports about Hunter Biden and his laptop from hell, a laptop, by the way, that your FBI had since December of 2019, and they easily could have verified probably in 48 hours. Now, today's hearing featured two journalists who revealed Twitter's past role in this censorship campaign, including a reporter by the name of Matt Taibbi, who, by the way, I will tell you, is not a fan of mine. Actually wrote a very negative book about yours truly. I got over it. He's not a fan of Donald Trump, not a fan of mine. He's definitely not a Republican. He's not a conservative. But what he uncovered at Twitter, it does transcend politics. Watch this.
The original promise of the internet was that it might democratize the exchange of information globally. A free internet would overwhelm all attempts to control information flow, its very existence a threat to anti-democratic forms of government everywhere. What we found in the files was a sweeping effort to reverse that promise. Twitter, Facebook, Google, and other companies developed a formal system for taking in moderation requests from every corner of government, from the FBI, the DHS, the HHS, DOD, the Global Engagement Center at State, even the CIA. For every government agency scanning Twitter, there were perhaps 20 quasi-private entities doing the same thing.
Now, what he is describing is a massive, major abuse of power between big tech and, of course, unelected government bureaucrats. Now, this was uncovered by journalists on this program, reporters at the New York Post and others like Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. But as it turns out, Democrats, they don't actually like journalists or journalism, even though they kiss their ass every single day. I don't really know why. They are an extension of the Democratic Party in most cases, unless, of course, it advances their obsessive-compulsive, I hate Trump, I hate conservative narrative. So at today's hearing, instead of listening to the witnesses and investigating what is a blatant, clear abuse of power, it is transparent. This power is at the executive branch of government. Well, Democrats, they started berating Matt Taibbi. Maybe he'll like me more. Anyway, and started questioning this guy's character and background because they didn't like what he was saying. Take a look.
This isn't just a matter of what data was given to these so-called journalists before us now. There are many legitimate questions about where Musk got the financing to buy Twitter.
My name is Matt Taibbi. I've been a reporter for 30 years and a staunch advocate of the First Amendment. Much of that time was spent at Rolling Stone magazine. Ranking Member Plaskett, I'm not a so-called journalist. I've won the National Magazine Award, the I.F. Stone Award for Independent Journalism, and I've written 10 books, including 4 New York Times bestsellers.
One hating Hannity. Anyway, for most of the hearing, the Democrats, oh, it was funny. I didn't feel good that day. I didn't read it. Anyway, for most of the hearing, though, the serious part is the Democrats barely let the witness get a word out, browbeating them for daring to investigate anything not related to their beloved Russia hoax. And now they want all of Elon Musk's communications and emails. Why? Because he allowed the country to see what was actually happening? Actually, that would make him a hero in my eyes for being transparent. Take a look.
Is it your testimony here today that you disagree with the 2 indictments by Special Counsel Robert Mueller that definitively established that Russia interfered in our 2016 election through social media disinformation and a hack and leak operation?
No, I don't disagree.
Okay, Mr. Taibbi, do you disagree with those 2 indictments?
Well, indictments aren't a thing to disagree.
Do you disagree? They're about 40 or 50 pages. Do you disagree with the evidence outlined in those indictments?
Well, indictments are just charges.
I just asked you, do you disagree with the evidence included in those indictments? Yes or no?
I'm not on the jury of that case. I couldn't possibly say yes or no. I think it's possible that they may have on a small scale, but certainly not to what's been reported.
What's been reported or what's been included in the indictments?
Well, again, indictments are allegations. They're not proof. And
I understand. It's pretty detailed allegations.
In the Mueller indictment, by the way.
You should go read the indictment and then come back and tell us if you actually think there's no proof of it.
Well,
but let me move on.
Let me move on, please. By the way, when they
please, let me move on. That's how this works. You should know that by now.
It works my way or the highway. Let's move on, and let's not talk about anything that means anything about the hearing. Now, it gets worse. Most of the Democrats, they were totally unprepared. Many had no idea at all that big tech government was colluding and that this is a real issue in our country. Take a look at this.
In your answer, you also said that you were invited by a friend, Barry Weiss.
My friend Barry Weiss.
So this friend works for Twitter, or what is her?
She's a journalist.
Sir, I didn't ask you a question. I'm now asking Mr. Schellenberger a question. Please
Yes, ma'am. Barry Weiss is a journalist.
I'm sorry, sir?
She's a journalist.
She's a journalist. So you work in concert with her?
Yeah.
Do you know when she first was contacted by Mr. Musk?
I don't know.
You don't know. So you're in this as a threesome?
There was many more people involved than that.
You can't make this up. Now, no doubt there are a lot of stupid people on Capitol Hill, especially in the Democratic Party, but they do need to kind of wake up a little bit. When high-ranking, unelected bureaucrats literally work hand in glove with big tech and tell them to anticipate something that's going to happen, and it's probably going to be about Joe Biden or Hunter Biden because they already have the laptop, that would be trying to censor speech, would it not? No one's rights are protected. This should never be a partisan issue.